На Болткоме «Разворот».
Здравствуйте, уважаемые слушатели, добрый день. Меня зовут Олег Пеков, и в студии со мной еще Андрей Лешкевич.
Здравствуйте.
И сегодня у нас в гостях настоящая голливудская звезда, актер, режиссер, продюсер и певец Роберт Дави. Hi, hello, Mr. Дави.
Hello, Oleg.
Welcome to Latvia, to Riga.
Thank you for having me here.
Вы часто играете в кино злодеев, агентов ФБР. Люди знают вас в основном как самого опасного человека в мире. Какой вы в реальной жизни? Добрый, злой?
So, Mr. Davi, you often, in your movies, you often play bad guys, like villains. Also, you play FBI agents. So people know you mostly like a dangerous man. But what kind of person are you in real life?
Well, first, I don't say dangerous, tough guy.
Tough guy.
More the tough guy.
Okay.
And you can call me Robert. You don't have to say Mr. Davi. So please call me Robert. Well, I guess it's appropriate. You said, what am I like in real life? And since the name of your show is Razvarot, it's one of the reasons why I went to the music, because you are defined in cinema by the characters you play. But that really has nothing to do with who I am. And the music has everything to do with who I am. And I think that people that come to the show tomorrow night or in any show that I have in the future, they will get to see more of who I am through the music. And because I do have edge. I can't help but being a bit of a tough guy, you know what I'm saying? So, but I have a romantic heart. And with that, and a poetic nature. And that's combined in the music for me. And my love of the great American songbook and jazz and singing.
Прежде всего, Роберт сказал, что мы можем называть его Роберт. Он сказал, что тема, то есть название нашей передачи, в принципе, соотносится с тем, почему он начал заниматься музыкой, потому что, когда ты играешь в кино, ты ограничен своим образом, той ролью, которую ты играешь, и это не совсем тот, кем является Роберт, а в музыке он может быть по-настоящему собой, и люди это чувствуют, люди могут это увидеть, и несмотря на то, что действительно он немного tough guy, немножко, как сказать, злодей, крутой парень, да, но все-таки у него есть такая романтическая черта, какая-то романтическая черта внутри него, и музыка дает ему реализовать это.
Роберт, вы в Риге представляете свой дебютный альбом «Дави Sings Sinatra», но изначально вы учились на оперного певца, и это потрясающий факт. Может быть, вы расскажете о том, как это произошло, что вы оставили оперную музыку.
So, Robert, you came to Riga with your debut album, with your first album. But as we know, from the beginning, you used to study as an opera singer. Could you tell us about it?
Yes. If you had asked anyone in my family when I was younger growing up, and I'm talking about in high school, I had an obsession with singing, with the voice. And I guess Riga has and Latvia has a tremendous love of the a cappella, the choirs. So when I was in high school, I was singing in a shower after football practice, and I went to a Catholic high school, and one of the nuns were walking in the area of where the shower rooms were, and she heard this voice emanating from the shower, because of course a shower makes you sound pretty good, right? And she sent someone in to capture me, to talk to me. She wanted to find out who was singing. And so early on I had a huge love of the opera, and what made a great voice. And anyone in my family said if I was going to do anything, it would be to be a singer. And then I followed through on that. I studied opera with Tito Gobbi in Florence, and then with Dan Ferro at Juilliard, and Samuel Margulies, who taught the great baritone Robert Merrill. And in the household, besides the opera, in an Italian household, and like all of any culture that loves singing and music, great music, the opera and of course the affection we had for Sinatra, for the great American songbook. And so that's where it had its genesis. My big passion started very early on.
Если вы спросите мою семью, то вам сразу скажут, что я с детства обожал петь, я постоянно пел в душе, и уже впоследствии я пошел в католическую школу, я пел в душе, и одна из сестер, проходя мимо помещения, где были расположены души, она услышала мое пение, и душ, он как бы, это пение, как вы знаете, там акустика особая, и она услышала и сказала, нужно выяснить, кто это, кто так поет, и то есть в моей семье сразу сказали, что если кем этот парень будет, так это певцом. И я учился и равнялся на многих классических оперных певцов, Тита Гоби, других очень многочисленных. И, конечно, на Синатру, как просто голос Америки.
Боб Дилан также поет песни Синатра на своем новом альбоме «Shadows in the Night». Это стало модно и трендом. Вот почему эти песни так нравятся людям, как вы думаете?
So Bob Dylan, on his new album, he also sings some Sinatra songs.
Yes.
Is it kind of trend? Is it kind of thing that happens now? Why people like old music, old songs?
Well, it's interesting that you brought up Bob Dylan. Did you see the music video we did together?
No, I'm not seeing.
You didn't see it?
Нет, не видел.
You should take a look on YouTube. Go on YouTube and type in Bob Dylan. The night we called it a day, and it's an interesting story. His people called me up several months ago, and I knew he was doing a album of Sinatra songs, and they said Bob Dylan likes your music, and he likes your acting. We'd like you to do this music video with him on his Sinatra album, and also because I did my first film with Frank Sinatra. There was another tie-in to all of that in the historical significance. So I got the great pleasure of, and we'll send you a picture of me and Bob Dylan together and me and Sinatra that you can put up on your site. But I did the music video with him, and we talked in depth about the Great American Songbook, which to me is the Shakespeare of America. They don't write songs like that anymore. They write interesting music with rap and dance music or house music or whatever the current popular trends are. But that music has now crossed into the classical realm because of its longevity, its ability to transpire generations. For instance, Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga, with Poker Face and all those wonderful tunes that she made, I always used to say in my show that in 50 years you may not hear of Poker Face or Lady Gaga. But recently she did this jazz album because she understood that in 50 or 100 years that music will still be relevant. And as we approach the 100th anniversary of Sinatra Centennial, his contribution to the music was astounding, Picasso-esque in his contribution to music. Also his social contribution that he made in terms of being against any kind of racial bigotry or bigotry of any kind and anti-Semitism. He was the first big artist to come out against that in the 40s. So combine that with the lexicon of wonderful music by these great writers, people like Bob Dylan and other people have now ventured into expressing the American Songbook. I'm pleased to say with Davy Sings Sinatra, my album was produced by Phil Ramone.
Yes,
and
I know.
and it went to number 6 Billboard. Yeah, he was a wonderful man, Phil. I don't know if you ever got a chance to meet him, but he was a terrific person. But but take a look at the video.
Okay, I promise.
Yeah, you'll like it all.
Да, это очень интересный вопрос насчет Боба Дилана. На самом деле, как вы можете знать или не знать, мы вместе с ним сняли видео, которое вы можете посмотреть на YouTube. Оно называется «Ночь, которую мы называем днем». И на самом деле история такая, что Боб Дилан записывал этот новый альбом с песнями Синатры, и люди, то есть представители Боба Дилана, они позвонили, сказали Роберту, что нам нравятся твои фильмы, нам нравится твоя музыка, нам нравишься ты, и мы хотели бы снять вот такое совместное видео. И они встретились с Бобом Диланом, они очень много говорили о творчестве Синатры, в частности, и пришли к такому мнению, что сейчас много делается такой трендовой музыки, современной хип-хоп, рэп, танцевальной музыки, но много из этого уже не будет звучать спустя какое-то время. Музыка Синатры, она обладает очень уникальным свойством, оно соединяет поколения. И вот, например, если взять Леди Гагу, которая записала свой хит «Poker Face», который очень гремел, она, наверное, поняла, что через 50 лет его уже не будет, и поэтому она записала свой джазовый альбом.
С Тони Беннеттом, да.
С Тони Беннеттом, вот. И Фрэнк Синатра, конечно, внес особый вклад не только музыкальный, но и социальный. Он был борцом против расизма, против антисемитизма. Вот, поэтому вклад его неоценим.
Я знаю, что ваш кинодебют как раз был вместе с Фрэнком Синатром в фильме «Contact on Cherry Street». Может быть, могли бы вы рассказать, может быть, об этом, о вашем общении личном с Синатрой?
So your movie debut also was together with the Frank Sinatra. Can you tell us about this person who was Frank Sinatra?
Well, if you come to my show tomorrow night, I talk a bit about Frank Sinatra. Hopefully people will be able to understand a bit of the English with it. But he was a very, for me, my personal relationship with him, he was a very sensitive, very intelligent, very giving individual, and a lot of fun, a lot of great sense of humor, and we got along marvelously. And over the years, even if I hadn't seen him, Jilly Rizzo, did you ever hear of Jilly Rizzo?
No.
Jilly Rizzo was like the brother he never had. And he was a great guy, Jilly Rizzo. He was a New York saloon keeper, owner of a restaurant in the bar in New York that befriended Sinatra in the 50s, early 50s, and they remained friends till first Jilly passed away. But I would always hear from Jilly, he would say, the old man saw you in such and such, and he wanted to know how you did, you know what I mean? And even I think his son, Frank Jr., I saw him at a few private homes, and he said that his dad really liked working with me and wish he had done more films, even though I played such a small little character. But in that first film, he saw my development over the years, you know, and in movies and other things. If you think of License to Kill, the James Bond film, well, Sinatra was good friends with Cubby Broccoli, who produced all the Bond films. And Cubby Broccoli and myself and Frank Sinatra and a guy named Sidney Korshak would have lunches all the time, or dinners, at Cubby's house. Now, my character in License to Kill is Franz Sanchez, FS. And the same amount of letters as Frank Sinatra. That was done by them as a kind of a little inside cute joke. Because Sinatra, they had always thought he'd play a Bond villain, or he wanted to play a Bond villain. So I was the surrogate to kind of like all of a sudden do this character. But he was very generous and very supportive, really a tremendous human being. And comes with that all the complexities of a human being. You know, you have there's a lot of different, but somebody who we know felt very deeply, you know, because you cannot express how you did through song without having an extreme sensitivity. And he had that.
Если вы завтра придете на мероприятие, на мое шоу, то я расскажу об этом. Надеюсь, что люди поймут по-английски. Для меня Фрэнк Синатра был великим человеком, был очень чувствительным, очень интеллигентным и очень веселым. У него было замечательное чувство юмора. И даже его сын, Фрэнк Джуниор, я с ним разговаривал, он сказал, что отец любил работать со мной, несмотря на то, что мои роли тогда были незначительными. Он видел какой-то потенциал. И интересный такой момент в фильме про Джеймса Бонда «License to Kill».
Лицензия на убийство.
Лицензия на убийство по-русски. Такая штука, что моего героя, инициалы моего героя – это FC. То есть это такие же инициалы, как у Фрэнка Синатры. Таким образом, Фрэнк Синатра, он хотел сыграть вот такого вот парня в кино, и таким образом я его как бы отчасти представляю в этом кино. То есть и также Роберт отмечает, что вот способность Фрэнка Синатры петь таким спокойным голосом, не эмоциональным, но при этом вкладывать туда всю душу и действительно делать это очень эмоционально.
Каталог Фрэнка Синатры очень большой, огромное количество песен. Как вы отбирали песни для своего шоу, песни Фрэнка Синатры? Есть ли у вас какие-то любимые песни?
So Frank Sinatra has a lot of songs. The catalog of his songs is like
over
really
3,000.
wide. Yes. How did you choose? Do you have some favorite songs? How was it like?
You just have to start digging. There's too many songs. They're all great. There's one song after another that is like a jewel. You know, it's like that. You know, and he didn't write the songs. You know, and the songs weren't written by Sinatra, but they were songs that other writers like Harold Arlen and Yip Harburg and Einar Swan and Jimmy Kahn and Sammy Kahn and Jimmy Van Heusen and all these great Johnny Mercer, Matt Dennis, all these great writers, the Gershwins, and you know, Cole Porter. They contributed to this great American songbook, and there are so many wonderful songs, and he sang them. You know, he had a huge catalog of music, as we all know, and just when you think you know it all, you find another treasure that you hadn't heard before. That's what's astounding. There are still songs, some songs that get uncovered that are just tremendous gems of a song that aren't the known tunes, but are just as beautiful. And so it's very difficult to choose. How I chose what I did was I wanted to pick some songs that were not the run-of-the-mill, but also some that were those chestnuts, and something that had some kind of significance to Sinatra's life. For instance, I've Got the World on a String on my album was the first song he did after having a very, very bad several years of his life. It was the reemergence of Frank Sinatra after From Here to Eternity, and his first song, really, with Nelson Riddle as the arranger. And as we know, those years of Nelson Riddle years were just tremendous creative outpouring of some of the most wonderful arrangements with Gordon Jenkins and Billy May and Nelson, as I said, and Don Costa, and on and on. Then, like a song like "The Best Is Yet to Come" is on his tombstone. That's what's on his tombstone, is "The Best Is Yet to Come." So I wanted to give that little tribute. In the Wee Small Hours had the first time that strings were used in such a way with popular music. That really changed the face of popular music, and that was Don Costa, you know, that started to do some of that stuff. He really started to put strings into popular music, and then all the other rock bands started to do that as well. But it was Don Costa who was innovative in that. So there's and some of them have a personal thing to me for, like, All the Way won the Oscar, you know. I remember the film The Joker is Wild, and that was my mom and dad's favorite song. So that had a certain emotional thing to me. So different reasons why I chose some of the songs that I did. Mamzelle is a song that you don't hear much, or not many people have covered, but I thought the intimacy of that song, you need strings to really do it right, but I thought the intimacy of that song, and the album is called On the Road to Romance. So I picked the themes of romance that from the elation of falling in love and the potential of falling in love to being in love, to the denouement of a love affair, to the rebuilding of oneself in terms of so that's kind of a progression of the subtle theme that I have throughout that album.
Очень сложен был выбор при отборе песен Франка Синатры. Просто нужно было искать, копать, и все его песни бриллианты. Когда тебе кажется, что ты уже знаешь какие-то основные песни и нашел самое лучшее, вдруг ты находишь что-то неизданное. Это просто так же здорово, как и какие-то популярные песни. Было много причин, почему были отобраны именно эти песни. Хотелось, чтобы там были действительно и популярные, и менее популярные, чтобы эти песни имели отношение к жизни Франка Синатры. Например, вот Роберт приводит пример «Word on a String». Это песня, которую Фрэнк Синатра написал после неблагоприятного периода.
Долгого, да, такого.
Неблагоприятного периода. Некоторые песни, в которых используется струнная музыка, потому что...
Впервые Синатра использовал в популярной музыке.
Популяризировал струнную музыку, после чего и рокеры стали использовать струнную музыку. Также его песня звучит в фильме «Joker is Wild», фильм, который очень любили родители Роберта, и этот фильм, насколько я понимаю, получил Оскар,
да.
Где звучит песня Синатры, и вот так. А альбом называется «On the Road to Romance», то есть это идея такой прогрессии любви, процесс влюбленности, какой-то крепкой любви, расставания, то есть это вот такая метафора любви.
Скажите, Роберт, понравился ли вам опыт записи альбома, и можно ли ожидать продолжения в Your Second Album is Coming?
Did you like the experience of recording an album, and should we wait for another release from your second album?
We have the second album half finished. We're going to be finishing it up. I'm hoping for a fall release, late fall. We have the last actually 7 or 6 tracks that I did with Phil Ramone before he passed. So we have that for this next album here. So yeah, there will be a next album, and hopefully many more after that. Because, as I said earlier, the definition of who I am is through the song, through the music. That's really the singing is the aspect of my life that is most vital. And I have a lot to say through the music.
It will be American songbook or modern music?
There'll be, right now it's going to be a couple of surprises, but the finishing of the American song, not my tribute idea to Sinatra, then leading on to the next phase of how I'm going to develop the music, because I will be getting into some very interesting repertoire, even the Italian repertoire, because my roots were in that world. So then eventually combining all of this into the experience of Davi sings Davi, so that'll be probably on the third album. But this next album will be because the American songbook, you cannot not sing that. These songs are so gorgeous, there's you could do, and so.
Второй альбом уже практически закончен, и к осени надеемся его выпустить уже. И это тоже будет очень интересный альбом. Несколько песен были записаны с Филом Рамоуном,
который, к сожалению,
ушел, но вот успели записать несколько песен, и я — это действительно то, о чем я говорю в музыке, это и есть я. И говоря о том, будут ли это еще песни Синатры, мы, в принципе, заканчиваем этот трибьют посвящения Синатре. Дальше будет репертуар расширяться. Возможно, там будут итальянские песни, потому что корни Роберта в Италии, итальянские корни. И это будет что-то вроде «Дави поет Дави», то есть это будут уже песни собственные какие-то.
I also want to expand the audience for the songbook in terms of bringing different genres into it and experience that. Try to combine a certain, so this way there is a multi-media aspect to it.
Да, но я пока переведу. Роберт сказал, что он хотел бы расширить аудиторию за счет экспериментирования с жанрами, с формами, то есть привлечь разных людей, чтобы их тоже заинтересовала эта музыка.
Многие голливудские актеры сейчас поют в кино сами, и как вы оцениваете, может быть, вокальные данные своих коллег по кино? Сейчас поют и Энн Хэтэуэй, и Джонни Депп, и Анн Сендрик, и Мэрил Стрип, и многие другие. Sorry.
Happens to me all the time, Oleg, relax. It's the thing of modern technology. So many times I think I shut my phone off and forget about it. It's on all over.
Да, проблема технологий.
Okay.
So many actors do sing in their movies. So it happens quite often nowadays. How do you value their singing abilities? How do you like singing in films in general?
Well, if you saw the movie Goonies.
Yes, I know this movie.
And the opera singing in that film was never in the script. I improvised all of that. That was just part of something that I said to Dick Donner, the director, and Steven Spielberg. I said, I have an idea for this character that I'd like to show you. and they says, yeah, well, show us what you have in mind, and I did, and we liked the theme of it. It was cute, but singing like Jeff Bridges did in his film, and you know, if it's not something that's done as a gimmick, then I appreciate that. You know what I mean? There's some, of course, that do it as a gimmick. I take the art form very seriously. You know what I mean? I've compromised in film by playing characters or doing films that maybe I normally wouldn't do. You know, the B pictures or that kind of a thing, because you have to survive like that. But I don't want to do that with the music. And as long as the artist, the actor in film is approaching that the responsibility to singing, and then I enjoy that, you know. And like you said, you mentioned Johnny Depp and other people like that. He was a musician. He always loved the music and stuff like that. So I'm all for that, you know, that self-expression.
Meryl Streep in Mamma
Meryl
Mia.
Streep is fantastic. She does Abby. Yeah, I mean, she was, you know, she's a terrific actress and a wonderful voice and singer. So she has, yeah, I mean, absolutely, because takes it very, very deeply.
Если вы видите, например, видели фильм «Генес» на русском языке, «Балбесы», то пения изначально там не было. Это я предложил Стивену Спилбергу, я подумал, почему бы не попробовать, он сказал, давай попробуем, посмотрим, и действительно получилось очень здорово. Но в целом я положительно оцениваю пение в фильмах, главное, чтобы человек отвечал тому, что он поет, скажем так, потому что когда ты играешь, ты можешь играть кого-то другого, ты можешь вживаться в образ музыки, этого быть не должно. То есть ты должен, твои вокальные данные, твои способности должны соответствовать тому, что ты поешь. Ну и многие актеры действительно очень хорошо это делают. Джонни Депп, Мэрил Стрип, которых вы упомянули. И вот в целом так.
Ну и, может быть, последний вопрос. Вы очень активны сейчас в Фейсбуке, в Твиттере. Вот in Facebook I find this very fine, cool art. Как вы оцениваете социальные сети? Что это вам дает?
So nowadays you are pretty active in social media, in social like Facebook, Twitter. You have this picture there. So what do you think about
that picture? Was done by a fan in Argentina.
Эту картинку сделал фанат из Аргентины.
He does these kind of things, and he did it with the gun. Initially, that's why I look like a severe guy. And I says, let's put the microphone on that. That's another interesting thing, because you talk about Sinatra. Well, the interesting thing about Sinatra was a tough guy. He played characters that had edge and had the tough side, the good cop, or a guy that had a little more edge to it. And I always say that that combination of being able to have that kind of toughness and the poetry makes a very interesting blend. And there weren't many singers that, if they told you, I'm going to break your legs, you'd believe it. If I say I'm going to break your legs, you might believe that. And I think if Sinatra said it, you'd believe that. There are some other guys out there that are great, but I don't think if Michael Bublé said, I'm going to break your legs, you'd believe it. He's a tremendous artist. But there's that edge that gives you something. There's a sense of something else, I think, in that. And Sinatra had that on stage, that unpredictability.
Синатра был крутым парнем, и очень важно отметить комбинацию крутизны и все-таки какой-то поэтичности и глубины. И если, например, Синатра скажет тебе, что я сломаю тебе ноги, то ты поверишь этому. Если Роберт скажет, что он сломает тебе ноги, то ты тоже поверишь. Но если Михаил Бубле скажет об этом, то, наверное, это все-таки так не будет выглядеть. Поэтому вот очень важно вот это сочетание уникальное крутости и какой-то глубины.
You have the difference between a Bing Crosby and a Sinatra. You know, Sinatra's big idol was Bing Crosby. He had many musical influences, but he then, that was the departure. You could say Sinatra was kind of the first method singer, meaning, method acting. Method acting.
I know Lee Strasberg. Okay.
Stella Adler.
Mikhail Chekhov. Who is worked in Riga. Yes, he lived in Riga many years.
Michael Chekhov and George Standoff. I studied with, first off, Stella Adler, and the principles of Stanislavski. Of course, every actor, they were affected by that. But there's another whole transitional aspect to that art form. The group theater in America was influenced by the New School of Social Research, of which they were listening to what Boleslavsky taught and Ospenskaya through Stanislavski. Lee Strasberg was teaching the principles of Stanislavski to the group theater. Stella Adler was already her father, Jacob and Sarah Adler, were the proponents. They came from Odessa, they brought the classics to the Yiddish theater, to America, translated King Lear and everything, very respected. And she was frustrated with the way the acting workshops were going with Lee Strasberg, and she went to Paris with Harold Clurman, who she was married to. Is this too much for me to... Should I stop now and you start a little bit?
Yeah, I can try.
As it goes on a little bit, but I'll stop there so I'll take it from here.
Окей, возможно, в общих чертах не смогу настолько конкретно перевести, но американский театр, это тоже, он вдохновлен очень многими школами, естественно, Станиславским, который был принесен туда, в частности, Ли Страсберг и Стелла Адлер, которая принесла еврейский театр из Одессы, ее родители были из Одессы.
So, Stella went to Paris with Harold Clurman and met Stanislavski. And she said, I used to love acting, you made me hate it. She then brought the principles. Stanislavski worked with her every day in Paris for 6 weeks. And he said, no, that's my old work from Actor Prepares and building a character, old work. He says, here's where I'm at now. And he gave the map to Stella Adler of what his training was. She went back to America and taught. Now, I worked directly, very close to Stella Adler. I then also knew about Michael Chekhov, because Michael Chekhov, when he was with the Moscow Art Theater, Stanislavski had him do an exercise on emotional recall. And after the exercise, Stanislavski said to the class, this is the epitome of my technique, to Michael Chekhov. A week later, he found out that Michael Chekhov's father did not die. Michael Chekhov was just using the imagination. So, Michael Chekhov, I knew greatly about him. He was very, very interesting. He went to Switzerland, worked with Eurythmy, and the man that he left with him from Riga and from Russia was George Standoff, who came with him all the time, wherever he went, Chekhov to Germany and this and that. Well, I studied with George Standoff in Los Angeles for about 3 years, privately with him, learning the Chekhovian techniques. And Jack Palance and Anthony Quinn, both great actors, worked with Michael Chekhov directly, and I would have discussions with them on the work that they did with Michael Chekhov, who was a great actor and a great teacher.
В общем, Роберт начал рассказывать историю о том, как Стелла Адлер поехала в Париж,
встречалась со Станиславским,
где она встретилась со Станиславским и сказала, что я любила театр, но ты заставил меня его ненавидеть. И она показала ему одну, то есть она сыграла как одну из ролей в Париже, на что Станиславский сказал, нет, это то, как было раньше, как я преподавал раньше. Сейчас я ушел от этого, и вот как я делаю сейчас. И он ей показал некоторую театральную карту, как выражается Роберт, и с этим она отправилась в Америку, и это было таким новым учением, скажем так. Вот. А что касается Михаила Чехова, который тесно сотрудничал со Станиславским, так вышло, что вместе с Михаилом Чеховым, куда бы он ни ездил на гастроли, вместе с ним ездил его Стэнлов именно, как бы его назвать, то есть, его товарищ, назовем его так. И дело в том, что Роберт учился вместе со Стэнлофом, и
Джек Паланс и Энтони Куин также были его учениками.
И это тоже оказало большое влияние на его деятельность и творчество.
Огромное спасибо, мы говорим Роберту Дави. Maybe shortly, can you a cappella sing? No. Maybe
Tomorrow night.
Только завтра.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, and it's a pleasure to be here in Riga, your great city, and the architecture and the people. I'm looking forward to meeting. I'm staying at this beautiful hotel, the Grand Palace, and just the hospitality the minute I got in there. And I'm looking forward. Tomorrow night's performances are sold out, and I hope to come back here in the future at some point and at a bigger venue. And I hope we have a more extensive conversation at that time.
Thank you.
Oleg, and thank you for having me.
Роберт, я перейду быстро похвалил и отметил архитектуру Риги, отметил, что это очень приятный город, что он поселился в отеле Гранд Палас, и завтрашнее шоу, все билеты распроданы, он очень хочет вернуться сюда и когда-нибудь продолжить этот разговор.
Okay, keep in touch, Mr. Davi, Robert.
Yes.
We'll see you.
Thank you.